Let us dispel the confusion shrouding no self and rebirth. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. If the self does not exist, and I do not exist, why should I care about my so-called next life? If it's not me who's going to the next life, why should I care? Let's begin with a bit of the old brushstrokes. Those who have been plagued with my presence in their life for some time know that this is a common question asked by newbies constantly, or typically the newbies who are frustrated by really, really annoying Sangha members and teachers who just don't seem to get it. Why is that? Well, Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. And sadly, that would include authors of meditation books, as well as teachers of meditation as well. So, to make sense of this, let us look at this through the lens of yin and yang. It is said that before the Buddha was known as Buddha, he was known as Gautama, and that man had a wicked cousin named Devadatta, and that Devadatta thought it would be a splendid thing to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, especially rigid and controlling. The opposite of Devadatta was his pain-in-the-ass cousin Gautama, who thought it would be splendid to be flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, especially flexible and laid-back. Think about a sober Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So here is the really weird thing, and we notice this in every area of life. The religious, the secular, the political, the vocational, the recreational. The people who are the most rigid and the most controlling are drawn like moths to a porch light. They are drawn like moths, instead of to a porch light, to positions of power and authority. Remember when we were kids and you played Monopoly, there'd be one kid who would fastidiously study the rules of Monopoly so that they could authoritatively referee the game? So these are the people who, sadly, well, they've created a scenario where the patients seem to have taken over the asylum and the foxes seem to be guarding the henhouse. You see, it all boils down to two things: literalism and sociopathy. Let's start with literalism. No self was intended to be a figure of speech. Remember that when we read the second to the final passage of the Satipatthana Sutta meditation manual, the Buddha promised that it is possible to master his path in less than 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, or even 7 days. I don't care how clever you are. I don't care if you're Sheldon Cooper. You cannot earn a PhD in a week. Therefore, it is safe to conclude that Buddha's teachings were much easier and more visceral than we have been led to understand. The Buddha didn't say, you cannot become enlightened unless you understand the grandiose in metaphysics, vague and irrational. No, he made it super, super simple. And for this to make sense, we have to look at mindfulness and meditation through the lens of neuroscience, yet again. What is the key to mindfulness? Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we wind up accessing our sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy is evolved to facilitate perception. It evolved to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. This vulnerability is typified by the nudity of Samantabhadri in this piece of tantric art. So there you are, breathing in and noticing stuff. Noticing sight, sound, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. Noticing emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. That can be really overwhelming. And that is exactly why we're going to turn our attention now to meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is ensconced within the lower third and upper third of that same spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. But what has that to do with no self? Simple, check this out. Every time we relax every time we relax, oopsie, come on cursor, don't fail me now. Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever it is that we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was less permanent, less solid, less defining. Now, allow me to remind you of what you already know. Animals on this planet have evolved to think, complex animals on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. Our ancient ancestors first perceived, and in time they recalled past perceptions and began to anticipate future perceptions, and that became the armature upon which the rest of the mind grew. Therefore, in every culture and in every language, there are phrases. And some of those phrases are literal, and some of those phrases are figurative, and sometimes they're both. Therefore, let us return to the idea, the experience of breathing in and breathing out, and view it this time through a figurative lens. Shall we? As we inhale. Let's try this again. As we relax into our exhalation, all that we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was so not defining that it had no self. It could feel so inconsequential that it had no effect upon ourself. And as we relax into our exhalation, whatever sense of self we experienced during our previous inhalation could feel like it wasn't there. Could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. No self was always supposed to be a figure of speech, reminding us that there is a duality. As we breathe in, we perceive. As we breathe out, we release. That's it. But what about sociopathy? Those who are rigid and fearful and controlling and elitist cryptic, competitive, and cruel are not motivated by empathy. They're motivated by dread of consequence and desire of reward. And in their self-centeredness, they assume so is everybody else. Boy, it is toasty out here. And so they try to motivate people. You do the right thing, you'll take an auspicious rebirth in a Deva's paradise or Sukhavati Pure Land. You take a bad rebirth and you'll roast your nads in Buddhist hell for a ridiculous length of time. Gee, thanks, I feel so much more peaceful. But here's the great irony. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. The Buddha was not a manipulative person. He was born a potentate. He didn't leave the castle to continue being a potentate. He left the castle because he didn't want to be controlling anymore. He wanted to be laid back and groovy. So instead of saying, do as I say, you'll burn in hell, he'd say, hey man, choose love. Choose love. Let's take a deeper look at that, shall we? Let's return to our idea of yang, or people like Devadatta, who are rigid and fearful and controlling and elitist and cryptic and competitive and cruel, shall we? These people, typically non-malicious, typically meaning well, are super confused. And they think mindfulness is concentration. And so they think that meditation is analysis, active analysis. And so in their own life and in the instructions they give to the students, they implore their students to rely upon specific discrete structures in their brain, such as the medial prefrontal cortex or the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, to help us to both actively concentrate as well as actively analyze. But there's a problem with this. In the short term, over-reliance on our prefrontal cortex, don't get me wrong, it's wonderful. You want to do math? Use your prefrontal cortex. You want to work out logic problems? Do your prefrontal cortex. You want to do active analysis? Use your prefrontal cortex. But if you overuse it in the short term, fMRI studies show that it causes our amygdala to light up. Our amygdala, the seat of aggression and empathy, housed in the metaphoric dungeon of our limbic center. That sounds terrible. Wait, it gets worse. Because if we persist in exhausting our overworked prefrontal cortex, it will present with symptoms of depression. Isn't that dark? Hey, I'd like more peace and joy, so I'm going to sit uncomfortable position for months on end until I drown in a deep sea of rage, terror, and despair. Yippee! Ting! No, thank you. So, but don't worry, folks, I've got some good news. The moment we start using our sympathetic nervous system to notice things vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly, and the moment we use our parasympathetic nervous system to relax and release, this lights up. This weird hunk of meat that kind of looks like a baseball glove. The big kids call it the anterior cingulate gyrus. It functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy and compassion and love. If we meditate, if we practice mindfulness and meditation at least 5 minutes every 12 hours or so, this hunk of meat is going to light up automatically. Kind of like the way your dog's tail starts to wag the moment it hears kibble enter his stainless steel bowl. It's automatic. The dog doesn't choose to wag its tail. He can't help it. Similarly, the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more our empathy center lights up. And we can't help but be drawn to do the kind thing. So we don't need to frighten ourselves with fear of hell. We don't need to entice ourselves with dreams of paradise. Just as a pig is drawn to the scent of truffles in the woods, we are wired by evolution to be empathetic and to be kind. Our secondary reward system, our oxytocin-oriented reward system is predicated on cooperation. That's right, folks. We have a factory-installed pharmacy designed to reward every kind intention and act. We can't help but viscerally experience no self during each exhalation. Now, here's the weird thing. Due to a caprice of evolution, our brain is super complex, and although it's clever and good-hearted, let's try this again. Although it's clever and although it's good-hearted, it's a clumsy motherfucker, kind of like Urkel. That's right. But if we so Urkel can't help but knock shit over. Can't help it. Similarly, our brain does get in the way of our mindfulness and meditation unless we ask it to do something specific. When we ask our brain to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, it begins to cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system. And during our exhalation, if we ask our brain to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease, begins to cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system, facilitating release. So even though people have worked really, really hard to convince us to let go through figures of speech like no self, and even though people have worked really, really hard to convince us to be kind with promises and threats, we don't have to contrive that. We can surf the present moment. We can allow our choices, utterances, and deeds to flow in the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity that is generated by the regular practice of mindfulness and meditation, and just stand back and watch the water ballet as our life becomes amazing. I do look forward to practicing with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Let's turn our attention to the latest iteration of Heart Treasures Easy Meditation, based on the final meditation manual of the great Tibetan yogi Za Paltrul Rinpoche. Now, the six-syllable mantra figures heavily in this practice. So let's take a moment to explore my favorite explanation of the mantra. Please chant with me. I invoke the wish of hitting monument that serves as a metaphor of love, and the pay me lotus of purity serving as a metaphor of release, with whom I supplicate may love and release be mastered by all. Need to check something, make sure everything's all coordinated. Now let us bring the 5 body regions into the path of bliss and letting go. Got to make sure everything's coordinated on the screen. Fabulous. Together. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever lower abdomen we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined omegosides, mustard seed size syllable of green light. So let's play with this right now. So we talked about omegoside. Talked about the lower abdomen. So as we breathe in, and we talked about the syllable ah. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite. Basically, let's take all of this and squeeze it down to 6 syllables. Silently, mentally, and passively reciting the first 3 syllables as we breathe in, and the second 3 syllables as we breathe out. Now, if I was really, really smart, what I would have said is, let's keep track of the next 4 repetitions upon our left hand. And during each in-breath, let's advance the tip of our left thumb and count the first 4 repetitions upon the 3 sets of creases and tip of our left little finger. Now let us bring this into the path of mantra recitation. During the inhalation, let us silently, mentally, and passively recite, relaxing into ah. As we exhale, let's physically relax as best we can while striving to chant the 6-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. Now, listen, if this is new to you, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. And now let's rest the mind. During our inhalation, silently, mentally, and passively, we can recite the demonstrative pronoun this. As we kick back and watch the antics of our mind, as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. During our exhalation, we can silently, mentally, and passively recite the 1-syllable verb ease as we relax into mind's non-graspable nature. Please chant with me. As we were, oopsie, you know what? 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be really nice if I made that word bold and this word underlined, because I'm funny that way. And let's do that again. Oh, that was an error. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. And let's move the underline to the word, to the verb, notice. Would it really be? Would it, if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, would it make a sound? And if there was a live stream, would it really be a live stream if Lama Jigme did not edit things? Together. As we relax into our exhalation, the area behind the navel that we might have... Oopsie. As we relax into our exhalation, the area behind the navel that we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined Rasambhavas, mustard seeds, a syllable drum of gold light. Now, if you have trouble reading anything, don't be shy, let me know. Money me me yung 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 money me me yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever just we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined akshobyas, mustard seeds, sizeable hunga blue light. Oopsie. Money me me yung 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 money me me yung. Oh, bless your heart, Luna. To you, I send a psychic, a Yoda high five. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever thought we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as real or imagined on me tombas. Mustard seeds, a syllable tree of red light. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever chronoscope we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non graspable as real or imagined Varochanas. Mustard seeds, I sit a bloom of white light. Whoops, that's what we call an editing opportunity. Let's see if I can't reduce the size of this. Make that 33 and see if that doesn't fit in better. Let's see. Whoops, wrong button. Try that bad boy again. Hey, hot dog, that's doing much, much better. All right, let's go over here. All right. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. Excuse me. Let us bring the dualistic five perceptions into the path of non-duality's awareness and release. Come on, machine, don't be that way. Here we go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of beauty or ugliness we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of just sights. I'm going to do a quick edit here. Let's replace those with words simply. Welcome to this evening's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, please type your question, in great detail in the chat window. Om Mani Mimi Yung Mani Mimi Yung Om Mani Mimi Yung Mani Mimi Yung Om Mani Mimi Yung Mani Mimi Yung Om Mani Mimi Yung Mani Mimi Yung. So if you've just joined us, during each inhalation, we could silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this as we kick back and simply watch the antics of our mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. During our exhalation, we could silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease as we relax into mind's non-graspable nature. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of discord or harmony we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply sounds. Aha. Whoops, that was exciting. Let's try that again. Control S. There we go. Om mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of hollow fragrant we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply send. Now, this looks like another editing opportunity. Please bear with me. Let's see if I hit 33 and then click 9. Let's see if everything fits in better. It fits in better. Om mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung. Welcome to this evening's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of disgusting or delicious we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply taste. So allow me to remind you of what you've probably already noticed by now. We take all these words and we squish them down into 6 syllables. We silently, mentally, and passively recite during our inhalation, and then 3 more we silently, passively, and mentally recite during our exhalation. We then take these exact same 6 syllables and recite them during our inhalation, and then during our exhalation, we physically relax as best we can as we strive to chant the 6-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. And please, if you are new to this, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we inhale, while silently, mentally, and passively reciting the demonstrative pronoun this, we can notice all sorts of things. We can notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We can notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We experience spectrums of phenomena, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of pain or pleasure we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply feels. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us bring the 5 mental poisons into the path of awareness and release. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever hate we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as mirror-like wisdom's clairvoyant. Om Mani Mimi Yung 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. Welcome to this evening's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. Now, there is lag time between you typing and me receiving it, so please don't lose heart. We're going to take a moment to rest the mind, rest in the nature of mind, which is very spooky. What does that mean? Simply this. That we practice mindfulness during our inhalation, as silently, mentally, and passively we recite the demonstrative pronoun this, while we kick back and watch the antics of our own mind, our own personal Urkel, as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. How do we practice meditation? During our exhalation, once again, we silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease as we relax into mind's non-graspable nature. Please chant with me. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever pride we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as the equalizing wisdom of primordial voidness. So what we do is we take all these words and we squish them down into just 6 syllables, 3 of which we silently, mentally, and passively recite during our inhalation, and 3 of which we recite silently and mentally and passively during our exhalation. Mani mimi yung, oh mani mimi yung, om. Mani mimi yung, oh mani mimi yung, om. Mani mimi yung, oh mani mimi yung, om. Mani mimi yung, oh mani mimi yung. How does mindfulness work? Every time we inhale, we could silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this, which is the only label we need for all that our mind perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, or imagines. How do we practice meditation? Simple. As we exhale, we silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease as we relax into mind's non-graspable nature. As we relax into whatever craving we might have noticed during our previous inhalation, it could begin to feel as non-graspable as discerning wisdom's bliss void. So this blew my mind when I was first taught this, so many years ago, that the key to dealing with the 5 mental poisons, the key to dealing with whatever filthy McNasty rears its head within the steel cage of our heart, is to notice it as we breathe in and relax as we breathe out. Doing so transforms it into its virtuous opponent. We don't have to force it. We don't have to make it happen. We let it happen automatically. Welcome, my friends, to the lazy bastard path of enlightenment. For that insight, I will be forever grateful to the late Tulku Chagdud Rinpoche. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. Now, the key to really getting the most out of mantra recitation is to physically relax as best you can while chanting the mantra. Hence, the verb. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever jealousy we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as all-accomplishing wisdom's void intellect. So we're using Vi as a monosyllabic synonym for competitiveness or jealousy. Om mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung. Well said, Crown Revenant, well said. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever confusion we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as all-pervasive wisdom's awareness void. Where a fool tries to repress their hate, greed, confusion, envy, and pride, the wise will simply process them through the cunning use of noticing and relaxing. Om mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us bring the five aggregates into the path of awareness and release. Together, as we relax into our exhalation, whatever body or form we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-grasp. Oopsie, having a little problem there. Could begin. Oops, still having that problem. Could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mani Mimi Yung 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sensation such as pleasure, pain or neither we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mani Mimi Yung 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever appraisal of pleasure or pain's intensity, or volume we might have noticed during our previous inhalation, could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever impulse such as fucking, feeding, fighting, fleeing, fainting, or falling we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever awareness of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, or imagination we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. Now, what I'm going to do is take a snapshot so I know where to begin during tomorrow's practice. I took two. Okay. Let's jump ahead. Come, let us seal this evening's practice by percussively chanting loving wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void no be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-suitable vision. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void no be as loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void no be as healthy as a Yidam archetype depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing yet void no be as fortunate as a pure land of law depicted in Buddhist paintings. May every meditation teacher truly understand the Buddhist teachings and practice master as well as teach him generously, lovingly, and wisely in the manner of centered spontaneity. May all meditation teachers spontaneously receive generous patrons, enthusiastic students, as well as devoted apprentices. And may many Dharma centers likewise be successfully planted, nurtured, and supported. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 1/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.